Critters in Taiwan.
Hey, welcome to Critters in Taiwan, a D&D podcast about Critical Role, where they sit around and play Dungeons and Dragons, and we sit around and talk about them playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Important distinction.
I'm Ben in Kaohsiung.
I'm Tim in Taichung.
And
Cheers.
we are some critters in Taiwan. Cheers, buddy. It's been a while. It's been a while.
Has it? No, it's been a week. It just feels like a while.
Okay. Yeah, well, I was up in your neck of the woods this past weekend, and that made everything feel like a long time.
Yeah, dude.
Those
Stories about that on his private blog.
Those festivals up north are intense, and they're intense. Dad jokes.
Because you go past them, so it's past. All right, whatever.
Yeah. Hey, let's do some little bit of housekeeping here. We are a podcast about Critical Role, so all things Critical Role are on the table. If you're not caught up, spoiler alert right now. Yeah. Specifically, we are going to be talking about EXUC, EXU Calamity.
Yeah,
that's part 3, episode number 3, Blood and Shadow.
One more time, Blood and Shadow. Is that right?
Blood and Shadow. Yeah.
Wow.
That's what it's called. Yeah, dude, this was one of the longer episodes at 5 hours 39 minutes.
I didn't notice it, man. I was so excited about it on Friday, watching it. Yeah. I'm just like, oh, amazing.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say about it except that just fucking wow.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel too. We do have a small market of pertaining to, if you haven't seen it or you haven't caught up, get out right now, catch up and come back. We have a small viewership of people who have not seen the show that just watched you and me. Now, granted, one of them is my mom.
Okay.
Because we never get to talk on the phone that much. And so she likes to see her son doing something. Hey, Mom. And, it's every now and then. It's not all the time. But she'll sit there and be like, oh, there's my boy. Yeah. And then occasionally a couple other people might like, oh, hey. And then they'll check it out for 30 minutes and then, leave. Full there are some people that if they don't care about the show, then, well, first of all, you should, if you have the time. But otherwise, hey. Welcome.
Welcome. Join us.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, my mom does watch this occasionally too, and she says the exact same thing. She's like, I do not understand what you're talking about, Ben, but it's nice to see your face and hear your voice. So,
hi, Mom. Have you turned into a Scientologist, as BWF always says? Certain times it might sound like it.
Yeah. I think I sent you a message last week too. I had a buddy of mine stop me on the street. And he was like, hey, how you doing? We hadn't seen each other for a while. And he's like, I stopped in on the chat stream, on the Twitch stream. And I was checked you guys out for a while. And he's like, he just looked me in the eye and he's like, complete gibberish. I didn't understand a single thing you said. But I'm like, hey, man, it's all good. He's like, but, I understand the passion and the joy for it. And I'm like, yeah,
it is quite a niche market. It is like niche upon niche, perhaps.
Especially here in the East, man. Especially where we are.
That's one of them,
There's nothing here.
This country, the game. The show, and then I guess knowing us is the most accessible part of it. It's like people know who you are, people know who I am. That's like, the mom viewership. I'll call it from here on out.
Sure. the casuals.
Yeah,
sure.
It's like I watch it for you, honey. And be like, you're not even my mom. Okay.
So yeah, that out of the way, we're going to be talking about EXU Calamity, episode number 3, Blood and Shadow. So if you're not caught up on anything, we'll also be likely referencing things from previous episodes of Critical Role, Campaign 1, Campaign 2, Campaign 3, and one-shots, and probably some D20 stuff, some Dimension 20, maybe some Dimension 20 stuff. I don't know. We'll see how it comes up. But basically, if you're looking for non-spoilers, this is not the place for you.
Yeah, we're going to spoil shit, man. I mean, opposite of that, we're gonna spoil shit, man.
Yeah, you're putting the emphasis on different syllables.
Yeah, that's my mistake.
Hey, I got an ovoid thing in my, not an ovoid, duodecahedron.
Icosahedron.
Icosahedron.
Dodeca is 12.
Is 12, yeah, but is a dodeca, but isn't a duodeca? That's not a word. I'm making it up.
I think you're making that up.
2 tens.
It's well, there's deca, and then there's 11 is like Undeka or something like that, but there's no dice like that, so we don't know that name. And then Dodeca is 12, so it's like it's Latin or something or Greek. I don't remember which one.
I saw.
I thought do would be double, so I thought it'd be 20, right?
Yeah. It's an
but apparently it's like
isodecahedron.
dose.
No
so they have
idea.
a whole word for it instead of.
Have you ever seen? I saw on Etsy one time when I was browsing beautiful gemstone dice. Have you ever seen a one-sided dice before?
No, I've seen some strange ones that they have the curves that it always does something. Or I've seen three-sided die that were like elongated with curves and.
Sure, they're really neat. But there's a one-sided die. It's an Aurora Boreas. It's the snake. It's fucking hilarious.
Is it the Mobius thing? Like
the Mobius. The
Mobius Ouroboros thing.
Yes.
I never knew how to say that snake word.
Ouroboros. Yeah, I think I said Aurora Boreas. Ouroboros.
You're thinking of all those colors and shit. I remember blowing my mind that I could make a Mobius strip. Like I'd seen it on a picture, and I was like, "What?" And then they're like, "No, you can make one. Just have it, flip one side, and then connect them." I'm like, "One-sided, two-dimensional. Wow!" Yeah. That was I was like 12 years old, and maybe cause and effect. Maybe that's why I got into math and science. You know,
could be,
or maybe that's why I was excited about it.
Hey, I'm excited to kick your ass at Rollies again. So
that's not gonna happen. We all know it.
Shall we go?
All right, let's get started.
Rollies.
Yep, you're not gonna beat that.
Ooh, maybe not. If I get a 15,
I got a nat 20, bud.
Hey,
way to start it. And as we were saying before we started this, I was kind of hoping I would get the first rollie because,
what do you got?
Like what you just said here on stream, you were like, I don't have a lot to say other than wow. Yeah. And I was sending you messages on Friday because I went to the gym. Sometimes I'll wait until Sunday when I'm just like relaxing and like eating my way back to a fucking normal life from a hangover. And I'll put the show on and I'll actually sit there and pay attention instead of walk around and watch it. But on Friday I couldn't put it down. And I've got a lot of notes from the first half. The second half, I'm 40 minutes from finishing my second watch. And I'm sitting there just like, I'm trying to remember why I was so excited, why I was so like passionate, like I was drinking, of course, so that heightens everything. I'm just sending these messages to you because you're one of the very few people I can actually talk to about it while I'm watching it. And I was like, what was I so excited about? You know? And I'm like, I can't wait to see and all these things like in my more sober state after work today.
Right.
And it's not points, it's not details. It's just that I'm sitting there, it's like I'm watching a reality show, like again, Brian Foster, you know, he talks about The Bachelor and like, you know, like they're not guilty pleasures, but he gets so into it, but it's like, what did you like about the episode? He's like, it's just a good show.
Yes.
Like there are many, many little things to talk about and to mention, but we're not the Chris Farley show. We could sit there and be like, Sam being hilarious. It's like, we already know he's hilarious, but it's like, yeah, but that one time he's like, I chose Dwarvish. It was hilarious, but we don't need to talk about that here because that's not what this show is.
On that fucking note, why he
gave an explanation because I thought they were old.
Yeah. I don't think that's real though. I think that's just him being a troll.
Oh, you don't think he actually chose Dwarvish?
I think he did. I think he did chose Dwarvish for the sheer reason that when it would come up, he would be able to say it. And it would be goofy and it would be a thing because it doesn't fucking matter. They're all he's like, well, somebody's going to be able to read all the languages. Like it's good. Somebody's going to have comprehend languages. Somebody's going to have tongues.
Right.
It's like, I don't need to do that. It's the age of Arcanum. They're going to have it. So I'm going to choose something stupid. It's just, and that's it. Yeah.
That's a good point. I didn't think of it that way because I was just sitting there like, well, he doesn't know as much, even though he's a professional D&D player. You know, he still does other things. And I think there's a reason.
There's a reason for everything he does, and whether or not the reason actually is a reason is still a reason.
Yep. Yeah. So it's such a good episode, and I'm watching. And as I was watching back through again, when I sobered up the next day, I sent you the message being like, I gotta watch again to see how accurate those messages were because I was losing my shit. You know, like crying a little bit and like watching. You know, like it's just. When I was out there on the balcony today after the gym, just watching through again is just good shit. Nothing specific. It's just good shit.
You're 100% right, man. It's a feeling. as opposed to an actual specific events.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of my overall big points that I've got written down from this episode and the episode before and the episode. This is a big umbrella thing where it's just
You got umbrellas
huge.
on the brain.
Maybe. It's just masterful storytelling.
Just so good, man.
It's just incredible. And I mean, I think there is a point in this episode where near the end where I meant to try and find it on my rewatch, but I missed it again. But I caught it the first time where Brennan says sort of offhandedly, "Wow, you guys are really good D&D players."
So good. It's pretty close to the end. It's like an hour from the end. Yeah.
Yeah. It's near the end of this episode. And I was just sort of like, yeah, you guys really are good D&D players.
Maybe that's why I was on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
You know, all this information's coming in. It's almost overload, you know?
You can tell, I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago or the last week or something. You can tell that they spent a lot of time developing these characters together. You can tell that Brennan gave them all a ton of lore to learn about, just not lore, like not things that secrets, but like things about the city and about what they can do and about what what they feel and who they know and what their role is. I mean, just so for a good example is near the end where Laren and Loquacious, Sam and Abria's characters go off to the Tree of Names, and he's like, I have to cover for you again, and he's like, right, I'm just going to send off messages in the little pneumatic tubes and send them off, and there's that whole touching moment that's beautiful. That is just that is like a player knowing their character inside and out, which is virtually impossible for a 1-shot or a 4-shot, like in this case.
Right.
They're only doing 4 episodes.
I know the last one is in a few days for or 2 days. Yeah, a few days.
3 days. 3 days for us. Yeah. Fucking mental. So like that's my sort of, not rebuttal, but my sort of addendum to that is it's just masterful storytelling.
Yeah. We've had a few times with the oh, oops, I forgot to, oh, there we go. When in the core campaign where you both and we sat there and we're like, I don't have a lot of points. And it's like, neither do I, but I loved the episode. Yeah. You know, like that comes up all the time. It's just such good storytelling. And I've got a few more points about that here. Yeah, I do actually have more than usual, but they're pretty small.
Everything that I've got written down from this one is not everything, but most of it is just about the excellent storytelling and the vibe and the entire, a lot of it is, and this will be my yes end, if you don't mind, for it. The way that Brennan DMs his ability to storytell as a DM, which is he takes everyone on roller coasters. He brings it way up and his voice pitches up and he gets it and then he brings it way down and his voice drops in pitch and it gets very growly and low down at the bottom end.
I can't believe he doesn't do voice work, man.
Yeah,
I mean, some of his voices. Sarah's son. Oh. So good.
You know that a DM is doing a really good job when the majority of the players all of the players are staring, and the majority of them have their mouth either open or they have their hands on their face, or just and not for a couple of seconds, but like for 30 seconds at a time. At the end of this episode, I mean, Travis wasn't involved because he fucked off because he's like, I'm done. I'm out.
In such an awesome way. I loved it.
It's so good. Travis is doing this.
That's like the height of emotion for Travis. Yeah. It's like
solid 5
he laughs
minutes
when things get sweet and tender, you know? He'll sit back and be like,
yeah.
And then like when he does this, I mean, like that's when I think he's getting the feels, you know. Sorry to cut you off.
It's big time, and that's just a direct result. I mean, even Lou, who plays with Brennan on D20, he even mentions it a couple of times in this episode. He's like, this man, what what he looks at Marisha and he's just like, this man, what do you know, when Brennan dropped something, I don't remember what it was. He just like, you know, blew their minds with a fucking lore bomb of some kind. Just, yeah. That's really what it is. He I've watched some D20 and he's not this good in D20. He's good. He's very good. He's an excellent DM. He's a very solid, well-rounded, good DM. But this is different.
So the marriage of the two is.
Well, I think it's big shoes. I think that everybody, all DMs feel these are giant shoes. Matt Mercer is the gold standard. So how do you match that or beat that? Well, I think we discovered how. Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking hell. Like I wish I knew more about Lou and Lewis, you know, because I know a bit about Abria because she's been in Critical Role before.
Right.
And I've seen a couple other things on some other things. They're super long.
I looked up. I had to remind myself because when they first started, I looked them up on IMDb and checked out their shit. But I had to remind myself again a couple of days ago. No, yesterday. Today's Tuesday. Yeah, Monday. I reminded myself again about who they are. Lewis is actually he's a D&D player. He's played on other. Yeah. But he's an actor, an actual like TV actor. He's been in a bunch of movies, but he was on his main role is like NCIS Los Angeles or those kind of police drama TV shows.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah.
That's his sort of role.
He does have the arms for TV.
Sure.
You know, you can tell that pretty quick.
Yep. And Lou is he's one of the writers for Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh no shit!
Like that's his full-time job, but he's been TTRPGs since he was a teenager, and then after school that's what he did professionally was actually like developing tabletop RPGs and stuff.
Fucking hell.
So yeah.
Well, thanks for doing that research.
They've got serious cred, both of them. And I mean the rest of them, you know. Oh, and Lou is a more or less permanent fixture on D20, whether it's Brennan or Abria DMing it, whatever. He's mostly there.
One more time for the viewers at home. Lou is on the left and Lewis is on the right, right?
Left. Yes.
Sorry, what? Just for just so everybody knows what I know. Lou is on the
top left corner,
and Lewis is
top right corner. Yes.
Dude, I don't remember if I asked you. Have you seen the show Ted Lasso?
Yeah, of course. It's one of the best.
Lewis reminds me of the guy who becomes a coach. Apparently, spoilers for Ted Lasso. Becomes a coach, the tall, skinny guy with the very thick beard, and he doesn't have a whistle. He yells whistle.
Right. What's his name?
He was on the team. I forgot his name. I just finished the season 2 days ago. Oh,
he does too. Yeah, the main guy, the one that dates Kaylee is. They get married. I think, or they are engaged or whatever. They get married. They can get engaged.
If they do, I haven't seen it. I think I saw the end of season 2.
Oh shit! I may have just spoiled it for you then. I think they might get married in season 3 or get engaged. I kind of forget now.
I didn't know they had a season 3. I thought I saw the end of the.
Wait, do they?
I don't know.
Maybe it's only 2 seasons. Hey,
I don't know.
One of my favorite shows. I have no idea what happens at all.
The way it ended, there seems to certainly be a 3rd season. If it's up or not, I can check. It's on Apple TV.
Do you remember what was the very last episode that you watched? Was it when I don't want to spoil shit. There's a very, very poignant scene at the very end.
Sam decided to stay, and the guy flipped out on him. The guy we're talking about that we can't remember his name. I don't know if I ever knew it. The guy who hates Jamie Tart.
Yes.
Because that was his girlfriend's ex-boyfriend.
Right.
Whatever his name is that looks like Lewis on Critical Role.
We should be talking about Critical Role here. We shouldn't be talking about Ted Lasso.
Yeah, we got to put that in the... We should shoehorn that in the beginning. He wants to do the 6 weeks vacation, and she's like, I can't do it. So he goes, and then they just do fast forwarding to different points. And it seemed very culminating. And the very last shot was the kid coach just comes up to the camera and just that's his face.
Yes.
That's the last episode I saw, and I
think that's the very last episode.
It's got to be the last one of 2. If they have one after that, that'd be weird. Or Game of Thrones.
Nope. For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey.
Anyway.
I think we do rollies again.
Yeah, I think we're back to rollies. Yeah. All right, so I got the big one out of the way. The rest of mine are fairly small.
Let's go, big money.
Not so bad. That's a little 16.
I got a 17.
Ooh, just barely.
Nice big 1-7.
But we know what kind of dice you roll.
Well, we'll see. Listen, I want to say two quick things, but they're basically the same thing.
Get it out there, man.
It's when we start this episode, it's combat, and it's combat for 2.5 hours. The first round of combat was over an hour and 40 minutes. Like Abria rolled,
right.
Abria rolled the lowest initiative, and an hour and 30 some minutes go by. I think it's an hour 38 before she actually gets her turn. It's insanity. And I was sitting there realizing, I'm like, right, this is what happens in all D&Ds when you get into higher levels like this. And we know they're all level 14. They're way up there, whatever. I think somebody did the math with Vecna when Vox Machina fought Vecna. I think it's only like the entire 5-hour episode is only like 3-4 rounds of combat. So the entire thing takes like 24 seconds.
Right.
It's insanity, right? Like it's so ridiculous when you think a round is 6 seconds and you're like, right, an hour and 40 minutes of real time for 6 seconds of game time. It's mental.
Every D&D fight's like a cat fight.
It's
just like, we're
crazy.
fighting. The round two.
That's my first sort of point about this is whatever.
There are a lot of like layer actions, legendary actions, a lot of reactions and things like, but I also want to do this. And sometimes, especially in a case like this one, adding on to what you're saying, these are people who've never done this kind of a character before, but they're like, can I also do this? And they're like, absolutely. How does it work? So there's some discussion, there's some learning.
That's my big point is that Brennan.
Sorry to step on it.
No. It's a perfect segue because Brennan really is helping as a non-antagonistic DM should, helping them with knowledge of stuff, giving them cues to be like, okay, you can do this and you can do that, and then this will happen if you, and like, oh, right, I will do that, and then it's okay, right, and it constantly giving them cues to move things forward and it's some people would call that like it's a combination, a mild combination of metagaming and railroading, but it really isn't. What it is it's allowing for the most efficient way of getting through staggered combat like this.
It's a 4-shot,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
We got to get through it. Like with the Big Nose Day, like with Stephen Colbert, he'll say
Red Nose Day.
What is it?
Red
Nose Day. Big Nose is a fucking music shop down the way. Okay, Red Nose Day. That's right. Support children poverty. Is that right?
Cancer.
That's what I said.
Sick kids.
What did you hear? When he says and you see this and you see this, do you walk up to it? Like that's what Matthew does. He does like this very much railroad. Like, do you walk up to it? And he's like, well, yeah.
Now I don't.
Yeah, like who says that at that point? It's kind of like when something I do a lot. Like you know what I mean? Like what are you gonna say? Like no, I don't know, and be like, oh, okay, sorry. No, you'd be like, yeah, I understand, and then you keep going. It's like just what the response is gonna be. So, but it doesn't seem like railroading. Right. It's still kind of his choice, but
there's in sort of one of my favorite ones was when. One of the, I think I don't remember, one of the spell mages, whatever, one of the mages cast haste on the spell sword.
Yeah.
Whatever his name was, the Findris. He casts haste on Findris, and no, it was another one. It wasn't Findris. It was another one. He drops out of the concentration gets broken. He drops out of haste, and Travis is like, Brennan's like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna move? He's like, no, I'm gonna stay there. And Brennan's like, he's dropped out of haste, which means he's stunned, which means you won't provoke an AOP. And Travis is like, okay, I fuck off, I'm flying. And he's like, okay, spread my wings and I'm up. Yeah. It's like those little moments where a GM can really facilitate the whole gaming experience and really make it smoother and just all around better for a player.
It's just
it's sort
fun.
of it's just fun. It makes it fun. It makes it so it's not like, okay, well, I've played with DMs that are like, no, I want them to stay there. Or no, I want them to take off because then I'll get an AOP on them. And I'll be able to like, haha, you moved out of my range. Now I can attack you. It's like, all right. Okay, man, you're smart. You're far smarter than me. You're better at D&D than I am. Yay.
Yeah, I think I thought I had this written down, but maybe I just had it as a mental note. But like to kind of add to that, not to yes and yet. Like BLM is like, he's like on their side, you know?
Sure.
Like at one point they were like, I got to roll a 6 or lower for that counter spell to work. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Or for it not to work.
For you to be able to not make it. Yeah.
Because like she was counterspelling and they were like, they're going to counterspell you and you know the level. Dude. And he rolled it in front and it was a fucking 4 and he celebrated with them.
Just as much.
Just as much. He's so much on their side. It's so fun to watch, you know. Sure. And again, I'm not saying that everybody should always do that. It's just really fun to watch in this setting.
It is.
Things are just like working out like to be so entertaining for this fucking series, this mini series. I love it so much.
I think the point is with that one is that I think he would be celebrating just as much either way. And it would become just because he celebrates with them for their wins, for their successes and their losses, then it becomes when they do get in trouble, it becomes just as exciting the other way, and like both ways, left and right, up and down. So I don't know.
I love how he does behind the screen and in front of the screen, you know, he's like, it doesn't make a difference. We know you're not lying, you know, we trust that you're not lying. And he's back there and he's like, okay, well, they rolled a 15. What's the DC? You know, like it's like DC 18, DC +6. You know, like you could have done that in front or behind. Doesn't matter, you know. But doing it in front, they can all react at the same time.
Exactly.
But if he rolls in the front, there's the reaction instead of maybe it's a storytelling moment. It's
theatrics for sure, 100%. It's very much like there are times and places and moments where you want the audience to see, and then there are other times when you don't, when you want a little bit of mystery and deception, and Brennan's it's a masterclass on showing that. It's great.
We'll probably be saying that again next week too, with because you mentioned that last episode, probably the first, or 2 episodes ago too. Just a masterclass. Yes, and on that, man, like what you mentioned just kind of brings up. I got a little shotgun approach here.
Go.
Oh, there it is right there. Okay, I just said that one as a non-counterpoint. I'll just cross it out. So as a yes and, not counterpoint, yes and. Something I just realized, which is kind of weird. It's like you when you learn something when you're like 35 years old, you're like, how did it take me that long to learn? I've been watching Critical Role for, as long as they've been on.
35 years?
Yeah, about. So yeah, it started when I was 4.
Some nights it feels like it.
And like I talked to like my buddy here who watches just the main story. Like right now, he's probably forgotten about Critical Role because they're doing a side thing. He only cares about the people, And you said like you love the battle, and I'm like I'm in it for the RP elements of it, and the battle's pretty fun, and I love to watch it. I've noticed that there's like minimal RP in battle because they're just like, oh, we're in battle, like we're sitting back and like, oh, it's these 2 guys' turn. We get to like, oh yeah, look at these, and they're people again instead of actors, and they're not characters, they're people, they're players now.
Right.
And I didn't realize that that's so charming to watch. There's tons of information, there's tons of canon, there's tons of lore and stuff during the battles based on decisions, based on who dies, who comes back in, who transformed. I don't need to tell this shit to you. But to sit back and watch my Critical Role peeps, and then the people I don't know, they become people and they watch the battle with me. And it's very charming. Yeah, and I really enjoyed this battle because of that, and I think I'll enjoy more in the future because of that.
2 things too. There were moments of RP in this battle. There were moments of when for example, when Marisha is role playing Paisha. Jesus, I can't call it Paisha. Paisha, and she's doing the feather fall reaction spell, and she's maintaining concentration on something. What was she doing? not Gravity, because that was Laren. What did Paisha do? She did
concentration.
She had a concentration spell going the entire time. Haste on. She had haste cast on. Yeah. Maybe not.
I don't think haste is concentration, but I would ask you that.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember now.
It is like it.
It absolutely is, because the other guy dropped out of it because he got hit with it and then he lost concentration, failed the concentration spell. So the guy he had cast the guy he cast haste on was haste is definitely.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and that's why it's like, oh, by the way, as haste drops out, you know what happens, and they're like, oh, yeah, you're right. Fuck, that is concentration.
To maintain haste on somebody, like when Caleb would cast it on Bo all the time. If he dropped,
they're hasted. Right. Just be like, all right, you're fast for a minute. Like,
exactly. Yeah. Oh. So so there's a bunch of that role playing happening in this combat, and they're quite good at it. But then the other thing, just to sort of dovetail that, is that what I said earlier about combat, a one round of combat being 6 seconds. If it's only 6 seconds that your turn is, then you don't have any time for role play. None.
Right.
You can't role play in 6 seconds. It's too. It doesn't leave enough time. You have enough time for a comment, and that's it. So once you play D&D long enough, you start to realize that if you start role playing in combat, you're wasting your turn. Yeah. Yep.
Oh man.
And that only happens once or twice in your entire D&D experience before you shut the fuck up.
Right.
And do the actions, the bonus action, the reaction, all of those things, the movement and all of that. You're like, yep, nope.
Yeah.
You're right.
Or it's like, oh God, in that first campaign when they were like, she sees the mist and there's like, what's going on? And be like, it's a vampire. And she's like, I cast ray of sun or whatever, sunlight or whatever. And be like, no, that wouldn't happen. You don't know. It's misty. You don't know what. And they still tried to metagame through. Oh my God. Just like after watching these days, I'm like, woohoo, they got so much better.
They got so much better. Well, it's again the same thing. Like I'm running a one shot in a couple of weeks with a couple of newbies who have never played D&D.
Nice.
Before. And they're leaving Taiwan, so as a final. Well, no, they're leaving Taiwan. They're going back. No,
I mean, just get them into D&D.
Into D&D.
It's the best
they're
game
leaving,
in the
and
world.
they're moving to the UK, and they want to have a D&D experience before they go. So I'm like, cool. I'll do some pre-gens for you. I'll pre-generate some characters, and we'll just go. And I know what's going to happen is I'm just going to be walking them through and. All right. I'm going to be walking them through, holding their hands all the way through it. And it's like, yeah, you gotta realize that, and I'll be it'll be great. I got a couple of experienced players playing with them as well. So it'll be
cool.
It'll be a good balance.
So you can be like, this is your helper. This is your helper.
Exactly.
Let's have a fun time.
Exactly.
Let's fucking sit down and play a game, yo.
Great fun.
Nice.
Okay.
So that was my yes and.
Yes.
Man, I got all kinds of others I could jump off of from there.
Let's do another one.
'Tis the season.
Oh shit! And gone.
Ooh.
1 sec.
I'm above 10 these days. Look at that. I'm going to show you guys, but he can't see. You didn't see that, did you?
That flew right the fuck out of my hand. It was a 2, by the way, but it doesn't count.
Are you keeping it? It's not on the table, man.
Not on the table. 8.
Hey. I'm above 10 this whole time. 14, ups and downs. Maybe they're just dice, and sometimes they're real bad. I'm going to keep going with this one. When the battle started, rule of cool, sure, whatever. But the action economy on Lou's first fucking turn. Dude. I mean, I didn't write down what he did, but okay, summon a dragon, get on the dragon, travel to an enemy, and he said, "Can I attack from the dragon?" I don't remember if he said it was okay or not.
Yeah, he did.
And he said it was okay.
Brennan totally said it was fine. Yeah,
and he attacked twice, and then the dragon attacked or something like that, and I was like, and that took
the dragon attacked. The dragon did everything, and then Lou's like, and now it's my turn, and they were like, what? He's like, yeah, I haven't gone yet. It's like you did your bonus action. He did his bonus action to summon the fucking thing,
right?
And then everything after that was the dragon,
and then climbed on it.
Yeah, well, you can. Brennan, I think, said at that point, he's like, of course you can ride the dragon. You're the dragon of Avalier. Of course you can ride your fucking dragon. It's like, yeah, it was. I mean, like rule of cool. You're right, rule of cool. But still, this is the Ring of Brass. Like this is what they are designed to do. So
sure.
Why the hell not?
Yeah. So I gave it a lot of leeway, but I'm sitting there and like watching the clock. I'm like, this is a really long turn.
Yep.
And I'm thinking in ways in my head how it could maybe retcon, you know, to be like, oh, this is why it's justified that he did this. But I'm not looking for an explanation. I don't plan on seeing one in the future either.
No.
But like, you know, I've been playing Elden Ring for a bit. When you summon the thing, you summon it under you. So you are on top of it. That could be a nice little retcon, you know?
Sure.
Like you summon it and you're on it, and then you go over there. That would make some sense, you know. But I didn't count actions and I didn't count bonus actions.
I think it was all on board. I feel like I noticed, I'll talk about them in a minute. I noticed two big mistakes, and I'm struggling to. I remember the first one very clearly because it was egregious as fuck. But the second one, I don't remember it well, and I'm sort of trying to rack my brain. I didn't write it down. I don't remember what it was. I remember who it was, but I don't remember what it was.
I certainly won't catch that shit. Not the first time around.
So no, yeah, good call. Yeah.
All the other ones seemed on board as far as I could tell, but that first one, it was like, it's still your turn.
I would love to know if that. I would love to know what that item actually is, the gold coin that becomes the gold dragon that he defeated. That was the Golden Scythe's horde. I'd love to know what the the first coin, right? That was the whole explanation. The very first coin that was taken from this dragon's, whatever the dragon's name was, Shaka Khan, whatever they were calling it.
I think Abria was calling it Shaka Khan.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like all I got to say about the combat really anymore is that this was some of the best combat I've ever seen. It was
so fun.
In all of Critical Role, it was a gorgeous map. It was a ton of bad guys. It was a ton of actions. 2.5 hours of combat that was just at level 14. Awesome. Loved every minute of it. Just a quick little side note off of that. That fucking 112 points of damage that Xerxes did on that
112? I thought it was 110.
112, 76 and 36.
Oh, 36. I thought it was 34. Okay.
No, 36. I wrote it down. I was like, because I wanted to make sure what it was. 112. That's Archon the Cruel fucking territory, man.
Yeah.
And they were up at level 19 or 20 at that point. This is only level 14. Mind you, it is still a crit and not 20 with a paladin
with the heightened improved divine smite.
With
is
the
that what it
improved
is?
Smite, yeah.
Smiting divine smite.
Improved divine smite, yeah.
Divine smite, yeah. Improved divine smite, which I don't know what that means, but I heard improved divine smite. I'm gonna be like, oh, that's gonna be something.
Just extras, and plus he's got that belt of the Storm Giant, which gives him 29 strength. Yeah. They all have their own little shit, man. Like Nidus has the coin that gives him the dragon, and Loquacious, I don't know what his was. He never really showed us. Sarah's got the gnarliness of that ring and the cloak and the other stuff, the Inquisitor Rogue stuff. Portia's got her little orb.
Yeah, as Sam, he doesn't really point it out, but I know in like campaign 2, like when his story kind of was coming out and everybody started to know about it. Sam had mentioned to Matthew, Matt asked him, like, do you want this to be kind of like held close to the vest, or do you mind if it comes out? And he said, honestly, if it never comes out in the campaign, I wouldn't be bothered.
Right.
You know, like that's Sam. It's like he probably has something there, but if it doesn't come out in this 4th thing episode,
totally fine.
Doesn't matter. Like it doesn't bother him.
Exactly.
You know, it's okay if a secret stays a secret. Like we don't have to know everything. But in a 4-sided dive, he might be like, okay, here's an exclusive, and you know, maybe drop it then.
Maybe, possibly,
maybe, but it's up to him. You know, hey,
sure,
we all have our secrets. Keep them. It's fine.
Sure. Okay, so I'll throw out my yes end, and I'm gonna go in the combat. 2 hours 20 minutes, and you already talked about this. Lycretia fires off a spell. And Lycretia Hollow, the Dean Hollow, fires off the spell, points at Laren, and is like, I'm going to, she's about, cast it at Paisha. And Bria's like, what's going on, Brennan? What is it, Brennan? And to set the scene, Brennan's like, Paisha, I need you to make a Constitution saving throw at disadvantage. And Abria's like, what's going on, Brennan? What do I see, Brennan? Tell me what I see, Brennan. Brennan's like, oh, right. Okay, well, you see her casting a spell. And she's casting a powerful necromantic spell. And Bria's like, counterspell. And Brennan's like, what level counterspell? And she's like, 3rd level. I don't care. I'll roll for it. I get to add my proficiency bonus because abjuration, blah, 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 blah. Something. I didn't write it all down, but she says this big, long spiel. Then Hollow counterspells the counterspell, which is the big, I'm going to roll in front of the board, the 9. It rolls a 4, and everybody freaks out, and they're like, you're done. Okay, Abria, describe how you counterspell.
I put money on that it was a 6, not a 9.
Oh, I see. Yeah. But yeah, well, no, it wouldn't be. Would it be? I think I did the no, because we don't know what her stats would be, so the bonuses would be odd. But it was a 7th level Finger of Death, which is a big fucking spell. Like, you fail that, and you fail the Constitution flow, and you're dead.
Oh, right. It was like group. What the fuck was the name of it? Didn't it have a different name than just Finger of Death?
No, Finger of Death.
Just Finger of Death, but at a high level, so it can target more people?
7th level. No, it's one person. Because it's 7th level.
Fuck. I'm thinking of something else then, maybe.
Yeah. It's one person, one attack, one saving throw, Finger of Death. And Brennan looks at her and goes, okay, describe how you counterspell. And she's like, I just do this and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, it's done. She didn't roll. Abria never rolled for the counterspell. They got so excited. They got so excited that Abria never rolled to counterspell. They let a 3rd level counterspell cancel out a 7th level spell, which would have a DC of 17. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. This was very egregious.
Okay, I just had to go through that thing in my head there. So the person to counter her needed more than 6. Or 6 or higher, or 9 or higher, whichever one it was. Rolled a 4, so that counterspell didn't work.
Yep.
So she had to roll for her counter, a 3rd level on a 7th.
3rd level on a 7th.
Fucking hell, dude, that's a big miss.
I caught it right away.
Wow.
I'm like, what have you just done? And this is one of the first times I've ever taken a quick note on the first watch, where I was just like, yeah, pay attention there, Ben.
Okay, and now
that's
the next
an important
roll.
Thing.
Like, don't get too excited. Let's do this.
And then they just went. Yeah,
it's like they just established the counterspell, and they're like, nope, he didn't counter your counterspell, so I guess it goes through. Ooh, that's a big one, dude.
It is a big one. It's a big one. Oh, man,
I bet chat was going crazy at that point.
Yeah, I looked at chat the second watch, and they were all screaming. All of them. And then people were like, hey, man, it's just cool. Just let it go.
Let's kill Marisha.
Yeah. A bunch of people were like, you forgot. Abria didn't roll. And I'm like, yeah, I know she didn't roll. But chat's fairly toxic these days. It gets gross. The moderators can ban people, and they strike their shit from the record all the time, and it goes. But it's still, people are still pretty mean. They're yelling out stuff, and
it's the internet. It's the new age, dude. Like we talked about before. Like, it's the new thing is to hate something even though it's fine. You know?
Yep. It's just a rough one, because Abria should. Okay, number one, Brennan doesn't always have to remember everything, because, like, he's got a ton of other stuff. They all got really excited about it. So Brennan, I can slip. But Abria full on said, I'll roll for it because I get to add my proficiency modifier because it's an abjuration spell and blah, blah, blah. And I'll do this. And she was fully prepared. And then Brennan sort of says, okay, describe how it is. And she's like, okay, I'll just describe it. Like, it was, I don't think it was intentional, but part of me is sort of like, you should have remembered. You should have. It was your counterspell.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about going back and looking at it and seeing if she's like, you're just going to let me have it?
The stamp is 2 hours, 20 minutes.
2:20, okay. On the Twitch. Well, yeah, obviously, because it's not out yet. Well, I guess it's out today.
It came out this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man. Anyway, that's my point for that one.
Big. Fuck.
It's a big one. It's a big one. Now, Paisha had another one in Marisha, had another moment of fuckery at some point, but I don't remember what it was. And I remember thinking, that's wrong, that's totally wrong. You can't do that. You should know better. It was a simple thing that would have been potentially game changing, like this one was, like the counterspell, not rolling for the counterspell. But it's fine. It's totally fine. It's maybe bogging everything down too much. I can excuse it because it's D&D and you don't remember everything. I mean, You know, like it's Brian W. Foster yelling at the, or not yelling, lecturing the audience. Don't shout things out at them when they're on stage. Don't be a dick. So,
oh man, I'm going through the Talks Machina from the second campaign. I'll maybe someday I'll go back and watch the second campaign again. But right now I'm just watching my talks because I miss my Brian WF. So they have a live one, and he goes through and he's like, just try to keep your questions, you know, like to one member, maybe two, you know, but just not to everybody, and like just goes through that like housekeeping kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And the first person comes up and they're like, first of all, I want to apologize for giving you such a geeky question last year to a Marisha. And they'll sit there like, sorry, what was it? And he's like, oh, and then he explains it, and it's like, what did Foster just fucking say?
Yeah.
The first person in line just like breaks 7 of the rules that he was like. So I'm just sitting there like, God, these guys are patient. Like, you know, I don't have that level of patience. I'd be like, I would say that. What did Foster just say? What's your question?
It's a measure of their success, man. They know they've learned that this is most of these successful guys that are social media. On social medias, they're successful and they're making money. They've learned.
That's a tough thing to marry.
Yeah, well, they have to. Otherwise, you're not successful. Otherwise, you turn people away.
Yep,
so you just
equal parts of the recipe there.
Guaranteed, they go home and shake their head off camera. They're like, "Oh God, I can't believe people are so stupid."
I know Brian did. He's like,
"Of course he did."
You heard what I said, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Well,
that's his brand, right? Like he's funny enough. Him and Sam are both able to get away with that shit.
Yeah,
because they're clever and smart enough and funny enough and quick enough.
Yeah. But like at home, like if he said that in front of people, it'd be like, oh, I mean, there were a number of people out there with the same kind of a thing. But
yeah, absolutely.
You know, well, yeah, it's fine. What you were saying, like this. If this was like a present day or a contemporary with campaign 3, then something like the level 3 spell countering automatically the level 7 spell, that would be something like a point of contention where someone would be like, dude, that is huge. And then whatever this other one is, this mystery one with Paisha, whatever that one is, it ultimately doesn't matter. We've all seen the end of Titanic. No. We know how it works out. Right? So you can get away with a lot of shit in this thing
because it is the Calamity. That's a funny thing that people on chat were yelling at other people. People were like, I'm crying. I can't believe they did it. I can't believe they're letting the tree. How could you let the tree get broken? And people are like, dudes, like click. You know how this ends. Why are you getting upset?
Rose is going to drown.
You do realize that the Calamity happened, right? You can't save this shit.
Rose was 90 in the beginning of the movie. You know how this works. But I still want to bitch about shit online.
Oh man, people are so funny. They're like, I can't believe I'm 35 years old and I'm home alone and all I'm doing is crying at the TV right now. And I'm like, okay, I get that you're emotional about this, but no, don't let it happen. Stop it. I can't believe they're doing that. Like, you know the story, man. Okay, are we back to rollies again? I think we are.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yes, I think so. Yeah, we're at 40 minutes here. My other points are pretty small and quick. So
do a couple of quick ones.
Let's do it. Oh, there we go.
5.
Hey, 15. Look at this. Man, I'm just like, I'm just roller coastering over here. Okay. You know?
I'm not going to talk about any of that shit. Bye-bye.
Any of that? Wait, that shit or this shit?
Well, no.
All right, so quick ones. I'll just go from the top here.
Go.
Seasoned D&D players still feel a rush. For example, Lewis. When how do you want to do this happens? You know, because BLM, he's up there and like I'm gonna call him BLM. I love that initialism. He's like, I've always wanted to do this. Everybody knows what he's gonna say, and he gets to finally say it. Lewis, how do you want to do this? And they're like, yeah. They're more cheering for Brennan. You know,
sure.
Like you get to say it. How many people in this fucking world get to say that goddamn term? Maybe 7. And then Lewis gets up, right? I got the name right in my notes because he's on the right side. So he stands up and he's like, okay, so I do this. And he's like, adrenaline, you know? And they're like, oh, because he was playing it cool and we didn't see the adrenaline. He's like, oh, it's kind of hard to think of stuff, this adrenaline. I gotta, how do you want to do this? Like, how many of those people are there in the world, you know?
Yeah,
It's just fucking awesome. Like a seasoned person in D&D, but on this special stage, there's something that makes you still like, oh, it gives that hair stand up on your neck, you know?
Crit Roll Stats does track how many how do you want to do this they get.
Uh-huh.
It's on Crit Roll Stats. There is a category for it.
For sure, yeah.
I just remembered that. Yeah, there is. I've seen it.
Like,
and I wonder. I bet they keep track of all of them on the stream.
They've got. I mean, they mention it almost every single talks, at least, you know, and I'm sure they're still doing it. So.
Yep. Sure.
That's one thing that sucks not having a talks is that you don't get to see that stats that they're keeping.
Yep, that's right. I love it, man. I love it. I mean, you can see like the Lewis and Lou both and Abria, the three of them are the they're the relative newbies at the table. And you can see the excitement. You can see they know they're on the biggest D&D stage, and you can see it in their eyes, in their actions, in their things. They're fully embracing the moment wonderfully, like just living it up, loving it. Yeah, it's great.
It is wonderful. Yeah, maybe that's why I was so excited on Friday. I was just loving the fucking episode.
Right. You feel. I know it isn't scripted, and yet it just feels like they know they're so good, right? Like that's the point. They're so good.
Yep. I've got a tiny little thing kind of like that too.
Yep. Well, I mean,
go ahead.
No, I'm gonna throw out my yes end.
Yeah, get that yes end out. I got to pee pretty soon. We're at 51 minutes, so
let's cut this
get through a few.
Sure. This will be a quick one. At 4 hours, 53 minutes, 10 seconds, Brennan asked the party to roll initiative in a PvP.
Yeah, that took me by surprise a little.
It did for a quick minute, and then I was like, they've only ever played for 3 episodes. This is why they can do that. Like, you remember in the early days of Campaign 2 of the Mighty Nine, when Ford draws his falchion on Caleb when they're in the house, and they're at each other's throats in the beginning, but later on, at level 14 or whatever the Mighty Nine gets to, I think they only get to level 15 maybe, or 13 or something. When they get to those levels, they would never ever think of turning on each other. But the reason they do, and this is sort of my point, the reason that they are able to do that is because they've only played in 2.5 episodes together. So almost 3 full episodes.
Right.
They don't,
as
even though they have, as players, even though the characters have played together for 14 fucking levels.
But it's also kind of getting in the fight with your brother and your mom, you know? But maybe pulling a blade is a little different, but
there was no offense. There was no damage. There was a lot of, like, Sam does, or Loquacious did Frightful Presence, which succeeded, but then she did Silvery Barbs, which made it fail, but then the Paladin Aura made it Can't Be Frightened.
That's right where I left off before coming in here.
Boom, boom. And there was sort of this whole thing. And then my favorite point in that is Travis looks over and goes, there's a lot of BDE in here right now. And I'm like, this is fucking, because he had fucked off at that point, right?
He was gone.
Sarah had left. The whole,
he was like, wait, you want to bring these people there and back, but you've also seen that happen to one person? I leave. I love that moment. To the DM, not like, I loved it. I love it so much.
It was all I could think about is just that was Travis's "I walk away" moment.
Yeah.
It's one of those I walk away.
It's like it's a risky thing to do also, because like he's sitting there and gosh, it happened once. It must have been Campaign 2 at some point, something similar, because it rang a bell in my head when he's sitting there and and he asks her a question, and then she asks like, "Wait, how does your ring work?" And he's like, "Oh, it lights up in the face of deception." And and she was like, "Oh, I was lying, and you would know that because of the ring." Right. She didn't say exactly that, but she did ask about how the ring worked, and then she disclosed like, "Oh, I was lying, and you would, And he was like, "Oh, so I would know that." So she tells him the truth, and then I think it was after that Travis was like, I guess Sarah was like, something about leading into this thing, and then she starts explaining something, and he said the no was enough. He interrupted the player while RPing, which is something you don't really want to do too much.
No, but he did it for a reason. That when it matters. Yeah. It has to be really important,
and you got to trust each other that they will know the difference, right? Like, do not interrupt the DM unless there's a really good reason for it, you know? And he did that. And he's like, the no is all I needed to hear. Follow-up question. She answered it. I leave.
Yep.
You know, and then it made sense.
Yep.
You know,
playing that
good.
character too, that the eyes of Avalon or Avalier, that whole idea of him being like, I'm a detective. I put things together and then I make decisions based on that. He's like, I put this together and I put that together. I'm gone. I'm out.
Yeah.
Like that's playing the role.
Good.
Playing the role.
Good. Yeah. Was that your yes and or my yes and?
That was my yes
yours?
and.
All right, let's roll, because I'm going to win this one also, and
Okay.
I'm going to bring this one out.
All right. Yes, you are.
Yeah.
2.
I got a 9. All right.
2.
I'm just calling the shots now. Another thing here is there's no overacting, dude.
Yeah.
How does that happen? I mean, we watched EXU with what's her name, Amy, and I don't think she was overacting, just maybe doing too much because she was on a stage.
I think a not a pessimist. What's the word I'm looking for? A
Cynicist?
A cynic would say they're
right.
all overacting. So it
So it just
cancels
matches
it all
each other?
out. Yeah.
Like, if everything's highlighted, nothing's highlighted.
Right, exactly. Well, it's like Opal was always at the top of the fucking drama level, and sitting beside
interrupting
Matt.
Abria constantly. It's like,
sitting
yeah, I
beside
understand
Matt,
the
who's just
RP,
like,
but don't do that, man. Yeah. Oh God, Matthew's patience is just legendary, cosmological. Because
So,
like, they're
yeah, I
sitting
would
there
say-
like, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just say a cynic would say, or I would say that they were all overacting, so it's all in even keel. But
See, I would disagree with that, because I think if they were overacting, then they would try to step on each other's toes, which they
I
don't
see.
do.
Yeah,
you know?
that's a good point. Yep.
You'd be like, no, it's my turn. No, it's my turn. You know, like Jim Carrey in Liar Liar. Overactor.
No overacting. They're all playing it very, very well. Like they're
Staying in that pocket.
fully embracing who their character is and how they would act, and right in character. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could remember what that moment reminded me of, when Travis was like, a simple no was enough, or when Sarah, I should say, said the no was enough. I wish I remember what that was. I'm not talking about he who should not be named, because he did that a lot. But I think there was another moment where they were interrupted, and it was like, ooh, it feels weird as a viewer to watch them interrupt each other as RP is happening.
Yeah.
But I wish I remembered what that moment was. If I remember it, I'll let you know.
I remember. I do remember it. I'm trying to think. I don't have it written down. I'm looking here. I definitely don't have it written down. I don't know what. I remember the moment very well, though. I didn't have a lot of time to watch this episode, so
I'm thinking it was from campaign 2 or something.
Oh,
it's reminding me of something like
this
in the past. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that one. Yeah, I don't.
Maybe it could be campaign 3. Fuck. I don't know.
Sure.
Not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's make this quick. We're coming up on an hour.
Sure.
And my bladder is not getting smaller.
I've got. I don't really have much of anything. I had an interesting little moment when Brennan said that, like, when Loquacious had the vision of Elminor, the archfey of the Sealy Court, was really interesting, and Abria's reaction to it was pretty spectacular, because she's the first one to have brought it up it brought up who that was,
right.
In the first EXU, because when Fern fights remember when Fern fights Negafern?
Yeah.
The Shadow Fern?
Yeah.
And the Shadow Fern says, Elminor is very upset with you.
No shit.
Yeah.
God damn.
I had to look that up. I had to look it up. I was like, why is that familiar?
Man,
and then I was like,
keeping track of this shit.
Right.
You should put your
There we
notes
go.
online, man. I bet you have some shit that they don't.
No, I had to look that one up. I was like, I know that name. Where does Elminor? And I got closed captioning on, so I was like, right, who is Elminor? And I looked up, I'm like, there it is. Okay.
Oh yeah,
That
that's
makes
right. Even when you see it spelled out like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of an interesting point. I mean, that's just sort of one of those things of bringing everything all together and being like Brennan sort of using other stuff to really to highlight the whole thing about, why are you here? What do you like to Loquacious? Why are you here? What are you coming back to this realm? Something fucking bad is happening on your realm.
Yeah.
Stay there. Don't let her touch the tree. It's like, what? What do you mean? What's happening? Because Sam is playing the voice of reason, right? Which is the unusual for him as a character. So he's the one that, yeah, wild. Anyway, that's all I got. That's all I got. I'm kind of done. I don't really have much else here.
All right, well, I'm just going to throw this out there then. I think Sam rolled 3 nat 20s in a row.
Oh, he did.
Because he had the 2 for the check for the battery things.
Yep.
And his next roll was a nat 20 on something.
Was it?
I think so. And I was like, because he's like, I got a nat 20. And it was well after. It was like a few minutes after his 2 nat 20s on the battery check thing.
Yeah.
And remember, they all were like, let's fix Marisha. Because she broke one of them because she rolled low.
Yeah.
And he was like, all the natural 20 and a natural 20, you know. And he BLM did give them, you know, like if somebody rolled low, he would give them a re-roll.
Yeah. I have a point about that.
The next roll was, I'm pretty sure it was a 20 after that.
Sam does the drop. And it's we've talked about this before. He rolls a nat 20 and then he rolled nat 20. It's like all you're doing is you're just dropping the dice, man. It's tough to condone that. It's illegal in adventure play.
You gotta,
it's illegal in Adventurers League. Sorry, if you play like the professional D&D, like the guys that actually play professional D&D, the Adventurers League stuff,
like Critical Role.
Yeah, you're not allowed to roll like that. You get asked to leave the table. If you
drop.
continue.
I mean, I always whack it off first, and then I'll pick it up and I'll drop it if I want to roll like that. But I usually don't roll like that anyway.
Yeah, you're not supposed to.
I was watching a game, and I'm not going to say who it is, and that person wouldn't even see this anyway. If I do it in front of the camera, this person, no matter what die it was, this person would sit there and check the die. You know how like the Laura thing where she would check all the die, and she would have it like this, and she would pick it up and she would just twist it like this, and then drop it a little bit. And I'm just sitting there like with a D6. Or like a D4, just picking it up and twisting it backwards this close. It's off camera. Just like twist it up like this. I was like watching her do this to choose her die from the big old pile of dice. Dice. I was like, and I was just spectating, so I didn't say anything, you know. And then it came to like battle, and then she was sitting there like just rolling it over, and I'm like, is no one going to say anything about this?
Super shady.
So I didn't say anything, and I don't think she's trying to cheat. I just don't think she understood the randomness of the die and how it's actually laid out, where the opposite numbers, you know, add up to n+1, n being the number of sides on the die.
Yeah,
I just rolled a 1 over there.
There's a combination of trying to be too clever and cool and cheating, all rolled into one there.
Yeah, I remember when I was younger, my brother, he would do this. But he'd be holding the die, but I couldn't see it because I was too young to notice it. He's like this, and he's like, all right, I don't know what it is. And he'd put it down. It was always a 6. I'm like, how are you doing this? He's like, I don't know. I put it in his hand, holds it. It's just a little magic trick fucking bullshit.
Right.
Yeah.
Funny.
Anyway.
Okay, I think I'm good, man. I mean, this episode finished with one of the great cliffhangers, where the Lord of Hell steps out from the fucking tree and puts his foot after 200 and 300 years, however fucking long, 1,000 years, however long it was. I don't remember how long, but whenever the betrayer gods get put in, and
it's a wonderful cliffhanger for the 4th episode, man.
The last thing I'm gonna say is the calamity didn't happen on one day. It happened over decades.
It was a time period. It was like the Cold War. It wasn't a day.
Exactly. It happened over a long time. So I'm curious how they're going to bell end this. How they're going to. It's a fun word.
Too many British friends. Like, you know,
I'm wondering how they're going to bookend this. And just
there's
sort
the
of
word.
like, yeah, a bell end, bookend. I'm wondering how they're gonna finish this.
I didn't realize there was an actual term you were looking for.
Yeah.
Bookend.
Yep.
Got it. Yep.
I'm
curious too. I don't think it's the last one. I think they're gonna do another series.
They're all gonna die next episode, dude.
I know. I know. But if they don't, then there's got to be another one, right?
Okay. Guaranteed.
Rose, you gotta be okay.
Laren is going 100% going down with that ship.
Absolutely.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
So Sarah is the only one that makes it out alive. And even he probably won't because he got those 2 potions of runes of recall, whatever the fuck that means. That's not real. They don't exist. I don't know what that. It's homebrew shit. So, but they're key. Like his partner wrote down, they're keyed to the kid's mom. So mom's not home. So he's gonna make them drink. Sarah's gonna make the 2 kids drink the potions, and then they teleport out to mom, and then the city goes down.
Yep.
Or
And
explodes.
fucking
or
kudos to Travis being a new dad, playing that part. And just the extra magic to that moment. That's when I would text you and I was like all drunk and I was just like, dude, I'm in tears right now. But I stand by it now that I've watched most of it up until that point. Now I'm just like, no, fucking hell. Yeah, those emotions were real, man.
Absolutely.
I was going to say, like, him leaving, he didn't know he was going to leave necessarily.
No.
And this situation, it's like, Sarah coming to you.
Yep.
What are you doing? And then he's like, okay, wig's bad. So you're.
I followed her in the party. And she's drinking stuff. Wings
so
bad.
good. And she did it again. It made it look like she liked it even less. Just playing this, like, is everything okay, Dad? You know, like
so good.
And the improv, and then Travis just being good at this, whatever Travis's strong points are. It was just so well done, and so just kudos to Travis and BLM for doing that, for making that scene happen out of nowhere. You know, kudos to them. And I've got a couple other points here, but it's not important. I can actually bring them up next time too, because they're still relevant.
Sure.
But I just want to throw kudos out for that, like, because that was such a nice scene.
It's 9:30. Let's call this.
Sounds good, man.
Yeah, dude. We don't have to talk about all the fucking moments because the whole entire show was one wonderful moment.
This was one of my favorite episodes of D&D I've ever seen. Yeah. Like, all things considered.
Like I said, the first half was combat, one of the best combats I've ever seen. The second half being one of the great. It was dramatic as fuck. Like, just cliffhanger after cliffhanger. Oh my God, what's gonna happen? I mean, Lou gets up from the table several times and walks away. It's just great, just great. Like, hiding. I think it was one point where he was hiding under the table.
Yeah. And BLM got him twice with the fucking fireworks.
Yep. Yep.
Fucking son of a bitch.
Yeah.
You got him the first time. They were like, "And you hear this?" I think that's how he ended the first episode, or when they went to break in the first, or the past episode,
second episode.
Yeah, and then this one, they're like, "And you hear this big crash, 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 the finale," and they're like, "You son of a bitch."
Yep.
Anyway, we can talk about that for hours, but I really got to pee.
Okay.
All right. So if nothing else, we're gonna sign off.
Yep.
Done. Cool. All right, everybody. Get in touch. Down here, if we're talking shit, we get something wrong, we get something right. Or if you just want to join the conversation, all the information's right on down there. And join us. Critters in Taiwan, Critters in Japan, Critters in fucking wherever the fuck you are. Join us. And if nothing else, don't forget to love each other. And is it finally Friday? Peace. Take care, Ben.
You too, bro.